Hello everyone, it is Jacob here, and recently we've been getting a lot of questions about the skill tree, and it seems like there is a lot of confusion about it, and it is something I would like to change hopefully with this video. So let's hop into it. The skill tree, I mean, don't get discouraged that it looks big, it really isn't. It is pretty straightforward and easy to understand. And I will start from the middle. So you can divide the skill tree into like different circles, starting from the middle out to the edge, and right in the middle of the circle we have skill points focused on attributes mainly. So you have your wisdom cluster here, you have your dexterity cluster here, endurance here, luck right here, and then there's agility as well right here, and strength, and a few special nodes like a damage cluster right here, life cluster here, life regen here, and armor cluster here. So this is pretty easy. So you basically take the part of the tree which you focus on. Early on it will be really early on it will be damage, a little bit later on it will be luck, and in the late game, in the current state of the game, it will be wisdom. You can see in this example here. On hardcore you might consider early on focusing on life regen, because that will help you a lot with your survivability, and later on taking this 5% max HP together with the nodes go into it is not a bad idea, because percent life HP is actually like capped at around 80%. You are not able to get much more because there's like 60% from cards, and then the skill tree, which is here, and we will get to the other section where there is max HP as well. So the center of the circle, attributes. Then we have like the middle circle here, and that, as you can see, is focused on specific weapons. So for example, you decide to play with hammers, so you travel to the right side of the tree and you focus on these nodes here. So this would be your maul or hammer part of the tree. This big node will give you damage and critical strike damage. I mean, if it is a few points for you to get there, take it as a 10% multiplier here. But what is important on each of those weapon clusters is that you can empower your specific skills with these little nodes here. So you basically can use only 2 skills. So you if you are attacking yourself, if you are using the skills yourself, you basically should get the 2 skills that you are planning to use and put the points into them here. For sights, I'm using a specific build where I do not use my skills, so I'm not going into that. But for every weapon, we have hammers on here, we have spears cluster up here, fists cluster here, this is swords cluster, here we have archery cluster as the bow ascendancy or class, we have magery down left here, sights down the middle, and axes right here. So those are your weapon clusters in the middle circle. Then we have like almost the outer circle, and that one is focused to different affinities. For example, elemental damage can get like arcane damage or fire damage, or there's lightning damage somewhere here. So those, generally you don't want to take those because you get a lot of other sources of elemental damage. But other affinities from your skills, for example, I'm using spinning blades, and its affinities are in the third row, orbit, blade, and projectile. So check what affinities your skills have. Every skill has up to 3, depending on what you have on your offhands and on your belt. Every skill can have up to 3, and mine is orbit, blade, and projectile. So if we go back to the skill tree, I'm taking projectile cluster here, I'm taking blade cluster here, and I'm taking orbit cluster up here. If you've played like, let's say, some dragon build or something, I believe those are orbit as well, and area, for example, here, momentum, ground. So every affinity you can think of, you will find here. Explosion cluster here, here is sky, creature, and dragon, and hazard as well if you play like Arcane Apocalypse or something like that. Totems here, and then there are a few specific things in this circle. As you can see, I have this cluster here, which is focused on critical strike chance and critical strike damage, and also gives you a little bit of boss damage and attack speed. Then you have a little cluster here which is focused on critical strike damage, and then a few points here which are focused on movement speed and attack speed. So generally you want to take the movement speed nodes here, will help you progress faster. Then in between those like middle outer and middle circle, we have these like these 4 sections, which this one is focused on energy shield, on energy regeneration and health regeneration. So you basically are going here to get energy regeneration and the max health bonus here. Then we have this section here which is focused on max health and armor, and you also get a little bit of energy regeneration here. Then we have this section here which is focused on critical strike chance, and you get a little bit of flat damage. And then we have this section here which is focused on boss damage and armor. So those are specific ones. And then the like outer circle is focused on specific weapons like attributes. For example, let's check spears. You on level 5040 you get a specific buff from different weapons. Like spears get bloodlust, mauls get whatever aura that is, axes get berserking, swords get light and dark shrouds, archery is not there, magery gets phasing, fists get juggernaut and excitement, and sides get the harbinger of doom. That is not in the skill tree yet. But if we go over the circle, there's a dark shroud here, so that's from the sword. There's a bloodlust here, that's from spear. Then there is berserker, which is from the axe, these two. And there's these from phasing, that's from magery. And there's a few, and then there's a few extra. So and the extra are these mini mastery damage bonus and mini mastery armor bonus. So that's for melee weapons. And then there are equivalents for ranged weapons as well. So ranged mastery armor bonus and ranged mastery damage bonus. As you level your weapon higher and you start getting your mastery levels at above 5000, these master levels will contribute to those nodes, and those will scale up to 5000 times. Up to, well, it's almost impossible to get to 5000, you would have to play for a long time, but you get the idea. So you get up to 5000 mastery levels, which then scale these nodes. Like you get a lot of armor and you get a lot of damage here. Then another extra nodes like inventory slots. Those are always good, like pretty good to take, because you always get bonus damage from inventory slots when you upgrade your dragon here. So you get 2% damage bonus for each extra inventory slot. So that scales with these nodes. Then we have life cluster here, so that's another source of maximum health that you can get here. Then we have maximum potions. There are monograms that scale with maximum potions and potion count and available potions, so this is how you can easily increase your maximum number of potions. This one will increase, if you take the entire cluster and you have nothing else, you will get to up to 15 potions. At base you have 3, so this entire cluster will give you 12 more. Then we have a little boss damage wheel here, similar to this one. Then we have Unholy Void. Unholy Void is like a specific mechanic in the game that gets opened if you get the right monogram on your helmet, which I am using actually. So that's the generate an Unholy Void around you that attacks enemies, can't use attacks or abilities. So Unholy Void is the red circle around me, as you can see, and when you start damaging something, it will be proccing your offhand, basically. You can make the area bigger by specific monogram itemization and by allocating these points here. So with this cluster, the Unholy Void gets larger, and with this cluster, the Unholy Void deals more damage and gets extra armor. You basically get extra armor when you have the Unholy Void active from this cluster. Then we have the phasing, that's from Majory. Then we have a little armor cluster here. Once you have nowhere else to put the points, you can take the extra armor here. This is Berserkin from X. Then we have critical strike damage cluster here. That's pure critical strike damage, all the points. Then we have charge secondary attack damage cluster. You might have noticed that when you are damaging enemies and you have the secondary ability equipped, you will get this blue bar here charging. Whenever this blue bar gets charged up to maximum, you can use an empowered version of your secondary ability. And this cluster here increases the damage of that charged up use, basically. Then we have charged up armor cluster here, where you can get 250 armor for 2 points. So whenever you use the charged attack, you will get a blessing that lasts for 40 seconds. It will give you extra armor depending on how many points you take here. These are flat armor points, which then get scaled with your bonus armor. So yeah, pretty cheap armor to get here. You use the special or charged attack every around like 30 seconds to 1 minute, depending on your attack speed and on how many monsters you have on the screen. So this is almost always up, even though it is a 40 seconds blessing. So that's that. That's the life cluster, and that's pretty much everything. And we have 2 damage clusters here as well. This one increases your proximity damage, so if you are hitting something that is closer than 5 meters to you, I'm not sure what the ranges are in the game, but whenever you hit something that is close to you, you deal 50% more damage to it. And then there's a similar thing here. When you are hitting anything that is further away than 6 meters from you, you deal 50% more damage to it, with extra damage nodes around it as well. So then we have like this outer ring here that you can use as travel points. They go from up to the bottom. The tree is not connected from left to right, which would be nice. It's only connected from up to bottom or bottom to up. But yeah, as you can see, when you start using and when you want to like put points into your offhand skills, you have to like take a lot of points around the tree, and it is more beneficial to actually use this inner circle to travel rather than the outside one. But yeah, that is the skill tree explained. I hope that it helps people, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Bye!